Let's go for an FSD beta drive. It's a Sunday evening in San Francisco. The sun is setting. He's trying to see if that guy was going to cross. I don't know why he's just standing there. Now he's crossing. I guess he just wanted to be polite and let us cross. So, I find it kind of funny, just the negativity right now. Obviously, giant shit show in the global economy, global capital markets. I mean, you've got the crypto fiasco everybody's been talking about. You've got equities tanking, the bond market tanking, property market starting to fall. So, sentiment is pretty low. And a lot of people are panicking. A lot of Tesla investors are panicking. They feel so dismayed, and I think a lot of people have really lost sight of what's happening long term here, which is that the way that we got around before in the past for the last 100 years is not going to be how we get around in the future. There's a profound change happening in what that product category looks like. And traditionally what it looks like is that you have a bunch of fossil fuels in the ground that was plankton or something at some point, dino juice. I think it's fun to imagine that it's dinosaurs, even though that may not be scientifically accurate. So you got the dino juice in the ground, and somebody goes, Exxon, they go and put a bunch of machines in the land somewhere or on the ocean, and they dig up all the dino juice. Then they take that dino juice and move it to a refinery, refine the dino juice into a refined fuel product like air fuel or gasoline for cars or something like that. And then they take that refined product again and put it in another truck and then distribute it to gas stations all across the country. Then somebody else comes and they drive to the gas station and they fill up their car, which is an internal combustion engine car, and they use that fuel to get around. They light it on fire and spew the exhaust all over their neighborhood, all over these kids that are walking around in their face. And that's just the way that we've got around. It's the best thing we've figured out how to do. And that's going to become a piece of history really fast. People will be surprised at how quickly it becomes a part of history and just feels so ancient. Like, within 12 months, I think driving a car without an automated driving system like this is going to be as antiquated as driving a car without a navigation system of some kind, even, just your phone navigation system or something like that. This is going to be something that once people get used to it, they can't live without. They're not going to want to have to go back to worrying about all the minute details of driving. When you've got a piece of software that's relatively affordable, you can subscribe for $200 a month, and you don't have to worry about all those mundane tasks right now. This thing is monitoring this pedestrian, it's monitoring the other cars that are coming, and I just have to sort of watch it and make sure it doesn't do anything crazy, make sure it doesn't try and kill me, and it is basically going to do the driving for me. So what does the car of the future look like? Or what does the transportation system of the future look like? Well, instead of dino juice, we're going to have a lot of mass-produced batteries powering these cars. And these batteries are going to be able to store electricity that came from solar panels, that came from the wind, that came from nuclear energy, or even natural gas or coal. Pretty much any electricity source or any energy source you can think of can be converted into electricity. You could even have a bunch of people running on a gerbil wheel or something and generate a small amount of electricity that way, theoretically. So you can really use any type of energy source to power these cars, and it's going to be much more cost effective because these cars are so much more efficient. They have technologies like regenerative braking. When they're standing still at the light, they're not using any energy at all. And right now, as I'm slowing for this light, the car is regenerating its energy. So that's the first big change, is that the cars are going to be electric instead of internal combustion engine, fossil fuel powered. Then the next big thing is that they're going to be very rude. Oh my god, there's like people walking and they just crossed anyway. People are asshole drivers. You know, this thing is very courteous. And it doesn't get upset, and I don't get upset either. It's weird how just letting the computer handle it, you're a little bit divorced from the driving process and don't get so emotionally invested in these type of road rage situations that are pretty common. So yeah, anyway, the second thing that these cars of the future are going to have that are different are they're going to be software based. You can see there's a number of sort of apps here running on the car, and whereas you never thought of a car as a software platform until recent years, a car is going to become one of the most prominent software platforms. If you don't have to drive, you're going to want to watch movies, play games, run different apps, maybe run video conferencing, do a meeting. You're going to want to run different software applications on your car. And those are actually going to be able to integrate with your car. You might be able to have a Target app and order something on Target, and the car can actually go and drive into the pickup spot and call them and pick the item up all by itself while you're just sitting there and, you know, minding your own business. So you're going to see software become a really important part of the car, and the value of having this large installed base of captive users is probably going to be greater than the profits you get out of selling the car hardware. So you're going to see people selling the car hardware at lower margins or even almost no margins just to be able to pick up users for the software side of the business, because that's going to be really lucrative. You don't have to go out and make a big expensive car, which is complicated, you know, pandemic and the workers get in, all this stuff that needs to happen for you to generate that dollar of earnings. Versus now, okay, I've just got these users who have software subscriptions and they're just going to pay me regularly. So that's a pretty profound change in the business, and is going to have to redefine people's idea of what an automotive business can do in terms of profitability. And then, of course, the third thing is automation, meaning that starting way sooner than you think, starting now, you're going to have these cars with features where the car software is actually handling most of the control. You just sort of give very broad controls. Like, for example, I can say, okay, I want you to go up to 30, or I want you to go 25. And I could say, okay, I want you to change lanes to the left. So you see, it's following my commands. I'm still driving, and I can take control anytime I want, but it's handling all the details. I don't have to worry about actually focusing on the lane lines and making sure I'm in. It just makes sure I'm centered. It makes sure everything is good. And I can actually look around and be aware of, oh, there's somebody over there who looks like they might want to cross the street, or being more aware of my surroundings than if I was just focused on the lane lines. So it actually allows me as the driver to be a better, safer driver, while it's just handling the annoying minutia of, okay, I need to stop and go to keep up with the flow of traffic and all that kind of thing. And it can do it better than a human. It can pay attention better than a human. It doesn't get distracted. This is a massive paradigm shift in what the product of a car looks like. So it's going to be like the iPhone, right? If you remember what smartphones were like before, they were just sort of clunky and nobody really used them unless you were like some business person who was like hardcore into email or something like that. But then the technology reached a point of consumer adoption where it just became mainstream. And suddenly it was now normal for everybody to have a web browser, to have email, and all of these different services on their phone. And the same thing is going to happen here. Very quickly, you're going to see people realize, wait a minute, there's a car out there that goes 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, doesn't need any gas, so I save a ton of money. The more I drive, people who drive a lot, you know, it can pay for itself. And on top of that, it does most of the driving for me. And even when I want to drive, the system's running in the background. It's keeping me safe and making sure that I don't make a mistake and crash. People are going to realize that this is the kind of product that I want. No matter how much you hate Elon or Tesla or whatever, even Tesla Q is going to want this. Even the short sellers are going to want this because it's that good. And, you know, they may not want to buy Teslas. They may want to buy, you know, I don't know, whoever else comes up with something like this. And that's fine. But we're looking at a dramatic redefinition of this product category. So, to me, I'm just really fascinated by the technology. I think it's really exciting what's happening here. Whoa, holy shit. So, it's really exciting just seeing the world change. When I got my first Model 3, it couldn't even change lanes on city streets. It could do it on the highway. And they gradually added features. They added lane changes. They added the ability to navigate highway on-ramps and on-ramps. Then the ability to follow the route automatically on the highway, make the right lane changes and highway ramp changes to get to where your destination was. Traffic light control. All these great features over time, they added them one by one. And then they came out with this about 2 years ago, the FSD beta. And in retrospect, it was so terrible when the first release came out. But it was amazing because I had never seen my car make right turns or left turns or do these type of complex maneuvers itself. And now it's so good that you can really just drive all around the Bay Area for hours in some cases without having to correct it or take over. So it's really gotten to the point now where it's fairly mature, and now they're going to open up the beta program. Any Tesla driver, that guy right there, if he wants to join the beta program, run this software on his car, if he's not already, honestly, he might be running, well, he looks like he's a little off, so looks like he's manually driving, but all these Teslas that you see, there's another one approaching behind me on the left. All these Teslas in the Bay Area, they're all going to be running this software. And overnight, there'll just be hundreds of thousands, soon millions of cars with this software preventing collisions every day. When people see that they are driving and they made a mistake, they accidentally were about to change lanes into somebody, this is going to stop them, even when they're driving manually. When they're driving automatically, it'll see things that they miss. At all times it's going to be running, and the goal is to make it so that it's impossible to crash the car, whether you're driving automatically or in manual mode. So that's a pretty ambitious goal. But that's what they're trying to do with this feature that they have, that they're introducing, called automatic collision avoidance. And what automatic collision avoidance does is it uses the same neural networks you see here that are rendering the scene. It uses the new occupancy network they've developed, and it simply constructs this 3D rendering of the scene and then just make sure you don't hit anybody, right? If you're driving manually and you execute some action that is likely to cause a collision with a person or another car, it'll move the steering wheel or apply the brakes or acceleration to get you out of that scenario and try and avoid the collision automatically. This is going to be a feature that when people realize that this exists and that there's a car that basically doesn't crash or is very, very hard to crash, and then you've got these other cars that do crash, well, you know, do you love your kids? Do you love your family? Do you love yourself? do you want to avoid getting into a crash, which is, you know, traumatic, painful, could ruin your life, in some cases could kill you, right? So, I mean, that's pretty compelling. Like, even if you hate Elon, once you see that, once you see, wow, this technology really is adding a level of safety, you're going to want either it or something like it. And I'm pretty convinced about that. It's hard for people to imagine right now, because right now it's so at an early stage. Like, this isn't really grandma proof yet. You wouldn't tell your grandma to use it. It's still crazy. Like, it's been pretty good on this drive, but it can tend to do some pretty crazy things at times, and it's not necessarily ready for that mainstream user yet, in my opinion. But it's getting there fast, and it's getting much smoother, much more comfortable, and once it gets there, people are going to be addicted to it. And I think people are also underestimating how quickly that can happen. It's already pretty much doing what it's supposed to do on paper, which is drive you around without you doing anything. And so all they really have to do is make it more reliable. That's it. Beautiful view here. I don't know if you guys can see it. Probably not. I mean, sometimes I just get in my car and just have it drive me around just to enjoy the scenery, listen to music. The car has a great sound system, so it's a lot of fun. I want to make like a FSD Tours app where it just gives you like a tour of something. Follows a route, you know, like one of those hop on hop off buses kind of thing, something like that. Okay, sometimes it messes up here. Well, I fixed that issue. It would like kind of jerk to the side. It was pretty scary, but looks like that issue's fixed. It's great when you see an issue that always used to happen and it's no longer occurring. I don't know why it stopped like that. I think it's because it saw those bikers. City looks good. Alright, now we're gonna go in here. My favorite little test spot for testing the interactions with pedestrians and cyclists. That was a little weird. I think it could have gone. What's it doing? Go, you stupid car. Just probably waiting to see if anyone else is coming, or maybe there was someone far away I couldn't see. It's a little overly cautious, but that's okay. You can just press the accelerator and get it to hurry up. Better to err on the side of caution for now. The aggressiveness has been coming up over time. Notably, the four-way stops have really improved a lot. There's the Golden Gate Bridge. Like, look at this, you guys. Tesla shareholders. You know, this company is doing truly amazing things, and I think people have lost sight of that. This is, to me, like, bigger than money. I don't care if we necessarily make a ton of money on this, because I'm just excited it's going to change the world. And almost nobody believes it. So it's just truly going to be a great surprise for people what's happening here, I think. And I think the company is going to do very well. I think this is going to be a money printer for them as a technology. The applications are numerous and beyond just autonomous driving. What the hell is it doing? Fuck. Why did it do that? Oh, maybe it's like trying to pull over to let those other cars on the other side go or something. It kind of like does that sometimes if it thinks the road is narrow. That was weird. I guess maybe I should send that to them. Oh. No. Fuck. What the fuck? Alright, well, I guess we're here.